Over the last 8.5 years of running my SMMA, I have learned a lot of different lessons. Some lessons good, some lessons bad, but overall, there are 5 particular things that I've learned that really cemented in earning over 100K a month for years now. For over 2 years, I've been doing over 100K a month in my agency consistently. And over that time, there's been the 5 things that I could distill down that actually got me there. So for those who don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy. Everyone calls me Uncle Jimmy. And I've been running my agency, My Online Guide, for 8.5 years now. And I'm also a coach over at Easy Grow, which is Charlie Morgan's course. You've probably heard of him. I teach people service delivery. And by this point, I've probably taught over 500 SMMA owners how to deliver an awesome service to their clients so that they keep clients forever. But like I said, there are 5 things that I think have really got me to the point I am today, where I'm living a life where me and my wife and my kids, we just travel full time as a family. I know it's not the whole Dubai, living in Dubai, driving Bugattis situation, but not everyone wants that, right? Some people just want to live a life where they don't have to worry about money, which is 100% where I'm at in life. So I apologize if it's a little bit windy out here. My kids are just swimming and playing around in the pool area here. So I thought it would be a good time to have this conversation while that's happening. So let's talk about these 5 things. So the first thing I think really got me cemented in and running an agency that's sustainable and it's doing 7 figures now is consistency. Consistency pretty much beats out everything else. And I am a big believer in consistency. I think a lot of people, they struggle to succeed in anything they do online, let alone SMMA, because they're just not consistent enough over a long enough period of time. I'm a big believer that if you do things that are positive expectation for your business over a long period of time, it's almost impossible not to succeed. And that's what I teach people as well. There's so many people out there that are on the cusp of succeeding and they just give up or go to the next shiny object. I think the reason, if I'm completely honest, I've succeeded in where others haven't, is just because I've stuck to it for long enough. There's so many of you out there that overcomplicate what you need to do to be successful in the digital space. And that is, like I said, just being consistent over a long period of time. If you do actions that every day that derive a positive return on investment for you, and your actions consistently do that over a long period of time, then it's almost inevitable you're going to make money. And I really do feel like that's one of the reasons I'm successful. And not many people talk about that. I can understand shiny objects get in the way. Over the last 8.5 years, you wouldn't believe how many shiny objects have been put in front of me that look more appetizing and more appealing than running a marketing agency. But I said to myself when I started this that I was going to see it through, regardless of whether better things popped up in the market. And I'm so freaking glad I did, because now I'm moving into other avenues. I'm trying different things, and I have an agency that only requires a couple of hours a day of my time. And that is only because I looked through all that stuff and went, I'm going to stay consistent. I'm going to stick to one thing and I'm going to do it. And I think the next lesson that I've learned over the last 8.5 years of getting to 7 figures and running an agency that does that consistently is the value of taking imperfect action. And no one really talks about this, but it's super important. Analysis paralysis is the breaker of so many good online entrepreneurs. People just sit there and they faff around and mentally masturbate and don't make a decision in the end. Once you get bigger, it's a really bad habit to get into, taking too long to make decisions. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, because you do need to make decisions that are educated, because the decisions have flow-on effects. So you need to make decisions that are really at least thought out. But people spend way too much time thinking about making decisions and less time actually doing it. And a very good example of this is trusting your gut and intuition on things. So I'm a big believer in trusting my gut. And because of that, I've made some pretty dumb decisions, but I've also made decisions that have worked very well in my favor, because I was able to take advantage of opportunities quickly and efficiently. And when you're developing a team and a team's trusting you, they want someone that's going to make decisions, because that's what good leaders do. And the decisions, what you need to understand is that you're not going to make the right decision all the time. And if that stops you from making a decision at all, overall, you're just not going to be successful, because sometimes you just got to go with your gut and you just got to run with the ball, as they say. And I'm lucky, because that's a lesson I learned very early when I was in the Navy, is that you need to, making an imperfect decision and taking imperfect action is way better than taking no action at all. And there's a lot of people that don't learn that lesson until it's too late, and they don't make a decision, and then they have detrimental effects because of it. You're much better off taking imperfect action and making a decision that may not be the right decision than not making a decision at all. And I think the third lesson that I want to share with you guys that I think has gotten me to the point I am today, running an agency that takes a couple of hours a day, getting me out to spend time with my family, traveling around Asia for 15 months with an agency that supports that, is you've really got to have a why. I see a lot of guys, they don't have this. They don't have a reason why. And this really hurts them when it comes down to those days where they really don't want to get stuff done. And your why can't simply be, I want to make a bucket load of money. It's not a strong enough why. And in my coaching calls, I use this analogy a lot. If you go to countries like the Philippines and Southeast Asia and places like that where there's a lot of poverty, do you really think kids want to get out of bed in the morning at 3 o'clock in the morning to help their parents scrounge the streets for metal, or go help them in their stall at 9 o'clock at night when they should really be in bed? Do you really think they want to do that? So what do you think the reason why they do that is? It's because they freaking have to, right? They have no choice. The why for them is that if they don't go out and do this stuff, they don't eat, or their parents stay starved. That's a pretty compelling why, which allows them to take massive action. Now, you need to have a why that allows you to take massive action. And when I talk to people and I notice they're not getting the work done, it's because they don't have a why. They don't have an actual reason to do it. Now, I'll quickly share my why. My why is that in my whole life, I've always been underestimated. And I was bullied at school, like a lot of you guys. And I always thought that if only people could see what I see in myself, they wouldn't underestimate me. They wouldn't think I couldn't do that stuff. So when there's days that I don't want to get shit done and there's stuff, I'm like everyone else, man. There's days where I just feel like doing nothing. I turn around to myself and I go to that place, that dark place that you only really go to when you have this why, and go, Jimmy, if you don't get up and do this stuff, then you're just reinforcing and you're just validating what everyone thinks of you, which is that you should be underestimated and you're a freaking loser. Get up and get the shit done that you need to get done to prove them wrong. And that's generally enough to get me out of bed and get me working. So for you, that why might be proving your parents wrong. For you, that why might be simply that you want to prove everyone around you that you're not a loser. The why might be simply that you have no money and you're broke, absolutely broke, and the only way you're going to succeed in life is by making this agency work. But you need something. It can't just be, I want to make 100K a month and sit in Dubai and be a baller. It can't be that. It's not a strong enough and compelling why. It needs to be as strong, if not stronger, than if I don't get this done, I'm starving. Okay? And that is definitely a secret to why I think I've been outwork a lot of people in this space. Because I do have that why, and there's days where I don't feel like doing shit, that then I get it done. And that leads to the next learning that I've learned over time, is that it's really important to outwork people in this space. You've got to be the hardest working person, but you've also got to be doing the right things. And this is something that took me a long time to learn, is that there's a difference between being busy and productive. And as long as you're doing things that are productive, that keep you busy, and you're outworking people doing that stuff, then you will be successful. But what I see a lot of people doing is they keep busy, but they're not actually being productive, and they're not doing things that consistently get them a positive ROI, right? So I see it all the time. I see people doing 15, 20-hour days, and they spend 9 hours of that just wasting it by watching YouTube, or where they can justify that they're learning, but is that the right thing to be doing at this very point in time? You're much better doing 6 hours a day of super productive work that tips the needle, that makes you consistent in getting the results you need, which might be picking up a phone and doing cold calling, which might be doing your Facebook ads for your clients to make sure they get good results, as opposed to doing 15 hours of doing shit work that doesn't actually achieve anything. Now, this is a super important concept to get your head around, because I see a lot of people in this space that think they're outworking everyone else when really they're not. They're just mental masturbating. And again, when I talk to my coaching students, this is what I say to them. Imagine if you had 4 hours a day. Let's say you lived in South Africa and the power went off from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. What would you actually be doing in those 4 hours? Like, what actual work would you be doing in those 4 hours? You sure as shit wouldn't be watching YouTube. You would be like doing anything you possibly can to tip the needle, and you'd be working those 4 hours like a madman. Probably wouldn't even go to the toilet and do a piss. You'd probably shit yourself and clean it up afterwards or something like that. But you would be working like a freaking madman to get the stuff you need to get it done and get it out the door. Because you know that there's a hard timeline. You have a start and an end point. A lot of people, when you have a lot of time, you don't have a start and end point to things, so you just end up filling the days with stuff that isn't important. There's other things you should be doing that you know you should be doing that you're just avoiding because it's hard. So I think the final thing I want to share with you all is that this takes time, right? That's the final learning. You got to remember, when I started my agency, I was 28 years old. So I was a bit older than you guys. I'm 37 now, but I was 28 years old when I started. I had a full career doing other stuff, right? And because of that, I knew how long things took to get started off the ground. There is a big myth in this space, and it's perpetrated by a lot of gurus out there. Hopefully I'm not perpetrating this, but I could be, is that you can speed run to 100K a month. There is a lot of guys out there that get to 100K a month and they get there once and never get there again, because either their processes aren't in place or they don't have the infrastructure in place to support that, or they've just sped run to that and they just wanted to tick that box off in their head. There is no shortcuts to growing a business. It doesn't matter if it's online, it doesn't matter if it's brick and mortar. If you were starting a plumbing business, the advice would be exactly the same. There is no shortcuts to starting a business. It will take as long as it takes. And a lot of people just can't get their head around that. Unfortunately, a lot of people that move into this space are young too, right? And because they're young, they've grown up in a generation with TikTok and they've grown up in a generation of instant gratification. Sometimes you don't get instant gratification. And generally, if you're chasing instant gratification, you're making decisions that speed up the process of growing an agency properly, then generally you're not doing it properly. And there is a lot of agencies out there that are doing 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, 100K a month, 200, 500K a month that aren't proper businesses. They're just someone working super hard and filling in the gaps. The worst thing you can do if you want to live a life like I'm living, where you just work a couple hours a day and you just get to spend time with your family, or you just get to do what you actually want to do, is build a business that's not sustainable. Okay, the only way you build a sustainable business, it doesn't matter if it's an SMMA or a coaching business or whatever, is to build it with processes in place and build it with sustainable infrastructure. If you don't do that, eventually the house of cards topples over. Because every time that you skip a process, or every time that you hire someone without processes in place, or every time you take a client on and you don't have SOPs, you're just adding to your house of cards. And admittedly, you can make a very tall house of cards, and that's why there is guys out there doing 100K a month that have done it in 12 months. But I sure as shit know that their house of cards is very tall, and all it takes is one of those cards to be pulled out and the whole house tumbles. You want to build your house out of freaking concrete and rebar. That's what you want to do. You want to build it slower. It takes longer to build a house like that, but it doesn't matter what comes through, your house is still going to be standing at the end of that. And that's something that I've learned by just taking a lot of time to build my agency and realizing that there has been agencies that have come and gone in this space. 8.5 years is a long time, right? And I've seen a lot of marketing agencies come and go that I thought were sustainable. I only realized that they disappear because the house of cards topples over and they have a whole bunch of people that are unhappy with them, and they've got to just disappear into the night. There is no shortcuts to this, guys. I can say with experience that it's okay to get to 7 figures and to get the life that you actually want in your 30s. It's perfectly fine. It's okay to get to that in your late 20s. You don't need to do it as a 20-year-old. There's no award for getting to 100K a month as a 20-year-old. All you're going to do is make bad decisions and lose it all anyway. You don't learn the responsibility of money until you're older. And it would be a shame if you worked hard and you did everything consistently and you did all the right things and you got to 100K a month and then you blew it, basically. And all you got left to show for it is a couple of pictures in Dubai. That would break my heart if I heard that happen to you. What you want to do is build a business that supports your lifestyle for years and years and years to come. That's your goal. Because at least, yes, you get there slower. And I'm sure there's people out there that would disagree with me that have gotten to 100K a month and they're running amazing businesses, blah, 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 blah. I can only speak to what worked for me, and I live a pretty bloody good life, okay? It may not be the Dubai lifestyle, it may not be the bitches and hoes or whatever, but I have a wife, I have kids, and I live a pretty awesome life where I just do what I want and I don't have to worry about money. Sometimes that's all you need to be able to do. And to be able to do that and do that with conviction and consistency, when you got people relying on you, like wife and kids and stuff like that, whatever you build needs to be sustainable. So just keep that in the back of your mind, guys, that you don't need to speed run this shit. Just do it properly. And eventually, if you stay consistent and you put in the hard work and you're doing things that actually tip the needle as opposed to just wasting time, you will eventually get there. And I don't know if that's what you need to hear right now. Some of you guys are going to have turned this off already because it's not what your guru bros from Dubai are saying, but it's the truth. And I can only speak from my experience, and this has been my experience. So hopefully, guys, this has been helpful. If you want to learn more about how I go about things, go and check out the link in the description. It's to a free school group. I do a lot of talking on there about this kind of stuff and in my coaching calls. If you want to learn about building a business sustainably, an agency sustainably, and maybe not speed running to 100K a month, but building an agency that supports you and you have happy clients that stay with you for a long time, that's where you want to be. Otherwise, guys, I wish you the best of luck. It's a hard journey, but it's a very worthwhile journey. And once you get there, all I ask is that you make a video similar to this about how you got there so other people see that there's an alternative to the whole speed running to 100K a month and living the Dubai life. Some of us don't want that, right? And I'm just trying to show people that if you slow down and do it properly, you can get there too. So guys, I'm Jimmy, and I'll catch you in the next video.